Let's fly through some Major League Baseball on this Monday. Not a full slate, but a good slate to start off this new week. It's new week, new money. And Donnie gave you the tease when Hour 3 began. A couple of lefties in the lineup tonight in the city of brotherly love at the bank, where the Phils head back home after losing the weekend set in Baltimore to try to bounce back against the San Diego Padres, who were just swept at Citi Field by the New York Grimace Mets. Minus 178, the number in favor of the Phils today, over under 9.5. What is the focus in Philly?
The focus is going to be on those left-handed bats, as we pointed out as a teaser a couple segments ago. Also keep in mind, I love this. Like, we are officially into the summer months here, at least weather-wise. Philadelphia tonight, 85 degrees, no rain in the forecast, double-digit winds blowing out to center field. Randy Vasquez on the mound here for the San Diego Padres. You take a look at his last 30 games against left-handed pitchers, left-handed batters, 38 batters he's faced here. A 200 ISO and a 450 weighted on base percentage. If you take the totality of the season, which he's only faced 63 left-handed batters, that rises to a 259 ISO and a 515 weighted on base percentage. Now, also, as I say this, he's not very good against right-handed batters either, with a 236 ISO power number to some right-handed batters. So if you were looking for the Phillies to break out tonight, maybe a team totals in your perspective, but also Kyle Schwarber, 68 at-bats against right-handed pitching over the past month, 208 ISO, 403 weighted on base percentage. Bryce Harper, only a 182 ISO, which is still above average, a 374 weighted on base percentage. And how about this? David Dahl, who was called up just a few short weeks ago, he's got 20 at-bats in against right-handed pitching so far in the season. He's got a 400 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 382, so pretty impressive there. I do think we get runs tonight in Philadelphia, but more from a Phillies perspective, but more than likely, definite in your lineup tonight, Schwarber and also Bryce Harper.
Because of the sweep, San Diego now below 500 again. Only one team in the National League West has a winning record. That's the Dodgers. They won the weekend at home at the Ravine against the Royals, but with some good comes some pretty bad. Mookie Betts out with a fractured left hand for a considerable amount of time. Yoshi Yamamoto, a sprained rotator cuff, not season-ending, but will miss some considerable amount of time as well. The Dodgers now on the road tonight in Denver at Coors. It's the summer months at Mile High.
Yeah.
That means the total is 12 offense expected tonight at Coors Field.
Yeah, I mean, come on now. 89 degrees at first pitch tonight with double-digit wind blowing out to right field. We are expecting some runs tonight. And also, the one guy that loves to provide fly balls in Major League Baseball, that's James Paxton. If we look at 17 pitchers on the card today with a minimum of 10 innings pitched since May the 1st, Paxton is 16 out of 17 with an xFIP minus of a 121. Now, sometimes you get that mixed bag because he was, I always like to say, dancing in between the raindrops for most of the season before finally getting banged around the past couple weeks. But if we are expecting that same type of performance, not a lot of strikeouts, the ball in play, that's usually a disaster mode in Colorado. And also, take a look at the Colorado Rockies against left-handed pitching, Ben, over the past month. I'm just going to read you the weighted on base percentage here. There's only two guys that are south of the average. Everybody else, Tovar, 354, Doyle, 389, McMahon, 401, Nolan Jones. Now, again, it's only two at-bats here. It's a 790, so you take that with a grain of salt.
Right.
Stalling, 629, Goodman, 470, and Amador, who just got called up at a 445. This lineup should be able to hit Paxton tonight, but in the same way, Cal Quantrill actually mirrors as a better pitcher right now than James Paxton, but we know the quality of that lineup is going to be changing for those Dodgers. Shohei Ohtani projected now to be the leadoff hitter for the Dodgers. That should shake things up. But the first six guys in the lineup tonight, Ohtani, Hernandez, Freeman, Smith, Pages, and Hayward, all of those guys above average ISO power number against right-handed pitching over the past month. We should be looking at runs tonight.
So let's go to Atlanta. Minus 200, the price on the money line for the Braves. Max Fried gets the start against the Tigers. Reese Olson on the other side. Over-under is 8. Donnie, Reese Olson was off to a great start this year despite just a 1-5 record. But at the end of May, he was 1-5 with a 1.92 ERA just because the Tigers couldn't hit or score runs when he was on the bump. 3 starts, though, in June. 17 earned runs given up in total. It's why the Braves, with Fried on the bump, are a $2 favorite tonight.
And the Braves lineup doesn't project all that great here. First 4 batters in the lineup, Kelenic, Ozuna, Olson, and Albies are okay. After that, Riley, Duvall, Murphy, Arcia, and Laureano against ready-to pitching over the past month. Been a disaster. But let's take a look at Reese Olson. And you're right. Seasonal statistics. Hey, look at this, man. A 111 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 298 through 303 batters. Sign me up. Oh, no. Take a look at the last 114 batters over the past 30 days. That jumps to a 231 ISO and a 411 weighted on base percentage. But get this, lefty batters, he had them under control to start the season. Lefty batters in the last 55, how about a 388 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 574? So if you're looking in this lineup, you say, Donnie, I don't know if I trust the Braves offense in total. By the way, Jared Kelenic here, back-to-back games with leadoff home runs. He's going to be back in that leadoff spot, and he's got a 300 ISO power number against righties. Then you take a look at Matt Olson in the middle of that lineup, 219 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 359. Those guys would be on the roster for me tonight. And you're right, Max Fried should be able to go right through that Detroit lineup. You should take the Braves, maybe in a parlay piece. I think they win, but I'd be more interested in taking some of those RBI props tonight. 87 degrees at first pitch. Light winds blowing in, but that shouldn't affect the game here. We should get some runs there as well from a Braves perspective.
Even in the loss yesterday, Atlanta on the road in the Trop, they scored 6 runs. They won the weekend in Tampa. They scored 22 runs in total in the 3 games against the Rays, all 3 games over for a team that has played a ton of unders this year. 22 runs in the weekend series against Tampa Bay, more in that 3-game span than the Braves had scored in total in their previous 8 entering the weekend at the Trop. Now we go to the friendly confines of Wrigley Field in Chicago. Javier Assad on the bump for the Cubbies, minus 120 moneyline favorite, total of 10 on a Monday at Wrigley. Where's the wind?
Yep, 89 degrees at first pitch here at Wrigley, 10 miles an hour blowing out to dead center field. And also, you take a look at some of these pitchers who basically are average. I got Hicks around a 95 xFIP minus, and I also have Assad around a 102 since May the 1st. So not actually dominating, but not too terrible. But having said that, if we look at their non-analytical numbers, like what have they been giving up? Right-handed batters against Assad last 30 days, 375 ISO, weighted on base percentage of 522. You take a look at Jordan Hicks. His last 49 batters he's faced from the right side, 255 ISO, 380 weighted on base percentage. So if you're looking to take a couple swings, look to those right-handed batters tonight. That ball gets up in the air at Wrigley. It might be leaving the yard.
More around MLB, including Skenes Day 7. Up next. Skenes Day number 7 in the history of Major League Baseball tonight at home inside PNC Park in the Steel City. Skenes and the Buccos, a minus 188 home money line favorite against the Cincinnati Reds with a total at 8.5. Donnie, let's start with the line. That heavily juiced in favor of Pittsburgh. Is that representative of Paul Skenes, or is something not working right for Cincy?
It's probably a little bit of a combination for both, but Skenes has been so dominant so far that that price point seems effective here, because you asked me a quick question on that. Like at the end of 5 innings, do we expect the Reds to have more than 1 run? No, we don't. So they got to be a heavy favorite here, just to keep a long story short.
Yeah, I think so as well. And Pittsburgh has been booked as a favorite often with Paul Skenes on the bump. He's made 6 starts. The Pirates have won 5 in all 5 of those wins for Pittsburgh, with Skenes getting the start. Skenes has recorded at least 7 Ks. So as we preview this matchup today, how do you think it breaks down between Paul Skenes and Pittsburgh against the Reds?
I look at that 8, and I like to take the under 8 here. Now, granted, 89 degrees in Pittsburgh here, wind blowing from right foul pole to left foul pole, only about 4 miles an hour, some maybe rain in the forecast, but this game shouldn't have any issues playing. Now, looking at these two pitchers, let's take a look at Paul Skenes. He's been filthy. His xFIP minus since May 1st is a 50. That's ridiculous off-the-charts type of stuff. xFIP numbers certainly low, as well as, ISO power numbers and weighted on base percentages, but hold on a little bit here. Carson Spires, since May the 1st here, checking in with an ERA of 1.17 and an xFIP minus of 84. He's been really good. Look at his numbers here. 58 batters he's faced over the past month here, an 0.73 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 247. So it's not as if this lineup here for the Pittsburgh Pirates should just be able to come out and club their way to an easy victory. Even though I do like the way the first 5 batters in that Pittsburgh lineup do present themselves. 377, 395, 359, 329, 360, and weighted on base percentages here. I think this is going to be a very close ball game. And even if you're just taking a look at the first 5 innings to the under, that makes some sense. But I don't think we get 9 runs tonight. I really don't with these two pitchers on the mound.
So here's the thing about Cincy. They were 20-30, 10 games below 500 for a team that had a ton of optimism following a promising 2023. 20-30 on May 23rd. From that point, they have been 14-7 despite dropping the final 2 games of their weekend in Milwaukee. And again, Skenes, his K-prop today, 7.5. The over has the juice at -150. The last few starts, it's been 7.5, but the over plus money. Skenes himself, 3-0 with a 2.43 ERA. Now we go to Arlington, where Texas, the reigning World Series champs, have struggled this season. Swept this weekend by the Mariners, 5 games below 500. Speaking of 5, make that 5 wins in a row for the New York Mets since Grimace threw out the first pitch on Wednesday. Again, it's one of the lighthearted and fun stories in Major League Baseball. The Rangers, though, a slight home favorite to snap the streak for the New York Mets and snap their own skid today.
Yeah, David Peterson, by the way, on the mound, 17 pitchers as I rated here. He's 17th on the card with an xFIP minus of 123. Here's the issue, though. His numbers don't look all that bad. ISO power numbers last 30 days, a 119, which is very good, 349, which is slightly elevated. The reason being is he doesn't strike out a lot of batters, which means that ball will be in play. The question's going to be, you only have 2+ batters in the lineup tonight for me for the Rangers over the past month against left-handed pitching. It's Marcus Semien with the 208 ISO and Adolis Garcia with a 261. Everybody else, including Corey Seager, has been really bad here. So can you take advantage of that pitching mismatch you're supposed to have on the mound? John Gray has been okay. The problem here, though, is over his last 20 batters, which, again, isn't a lot, coming a little bit off that IL over the past, 60 days, I believe, was on it. 267 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 430. So those left-handed bats you would normally gravitate towards. It's Francisco Lindor.
Yeah.
Not great numbers over the past month against right-handed pitching. Nimmo, the same thing. The right-handed batters doing more of the damage. JD Martinez, Pete Alonso, and Starlin Marte. So this game should get runs, and you should be able to take advantage of these pitchers. I just don't know if those lineups can do it. So from a fundamental standpoint, probably just RBI shots from the Rangers because Peterson's numbers, xFIP minus-wise, are really bad. But outside of that, not a lot to love for me in this game.
Second consecutive divisional duel for Boston after winning the weekend at home in Fenway against the New York Yankees in their rivalry. The Sox now on the road in the 6th against the Blue Jays, who won the final 2 games of their weekend home set against the Cleveland Guardians. Pretty close on that money line. What gives today up in the 6th?
Yeah, but it is going to be close here. You probably would take the plus money in this environment here because both of these pitchers sort of going to cancel themselves out and sort of have a little bit of an affinity here for those Boston Red Sox. I just like the way that lineup is built here, but not a huge way.
Yeah.
So, Donnie, you got to take a certain way. This one's going to be a coin toss. I'll just take the plus money here when it's all said and done.
9 games in Major League Baseball on this Monday. We broke down 6 of them to give you some winners, maybe even 7.